Hello everyone, welcome back. You are looking at the output waveforms of the oscilloscope that we made using FPGA and FT2232H as the USB device. Here in FPGA, we are creating a square wave. Then that square wave is going to a very simple low-pass RC filter, and then we are reading back and digitizing the output of this filter using the FPGA ADC. You can see here that the waveform looks like a triangular waveform. That is because this waveform, the low-pass filter cutoff frequency is lower than the frequency of the operation, so the signal does not settle fully before the next cycle happens. So, for instance, if we have a step that is rising and it takes some certain amount of time for the low-pass filter to settle to that value, if we switch to the low value before that happens, we are seeing unsettling behavior, which is happening right now. In this oscilloscope, we also added an FFT plot so that the frequency response of the waveform can be is visualized and can be investigated when we are looking at the time domain signal. In this oscilloscope app, which is done in C++, I'm using Qt for plotting, and I have built several tools. For instance, we can see the cursors as I'm moving in the plot, and also I can add markers by right-clicking on the plot, so I can find the value of each signal in X and Y axis. Also, the frequency of the signal is plotted here. Here, I also can change the axis limits. I can increase or decrease them, so more data points are shown. I can change the minimum of x-axis. I can also change the minimum and maximum of y-axis. This is right now in binary value, but let's see if I change it to 160, which with max of 255, you see that the y-axis limit changes. I can reduce it so that more signal is fitted in the y-axis. So this is one of the applications. I just wanted to show how powerful is this USB link, and using a very fast low-level C++ application, what are the capabilities of this link. Okay, now let's see how does the system work. So we talked about this in the previous videos as well. We have this IC from FTDI. This IC is called FT2232H. And it can give us a USB bridge between PC to FPGA, and this IC has a mode called 245 Sync-FIFO mode, which accepts the serial USB data and then provides them in a parallel mode to the FPGA, and the FPGA can latch this data with very fast speed. So we actually talked about this communication between FT2232H and FPGA. Now we are going to go to the PC side. So here in the PC, we have an application. In this case, it's in C++. And for instance, for visualization, we are using Qt because it gives us a very low-level, high-speed visualization. And then in order to communicate to FT2232H, we need some drivers and some API. And these are easily downloadable from FTDI website. You can download the drivers for this IC and also the APIs and all the DLLs or any file that is needed for the C++ application to communicate to FT2232H. Once we have our application, our drivers set up correctly, we just need to call an API. And this API goes to the CPU, then CPU communicates to a USB host controller on our motherboard, which is connected to the CPU directly. And then this provides the USB port from our motherboard, which are getting connected to the FT2232H. There is a USB2 communication, which is done in serial fashion. And once it receives in FT2232H, this IC provides the parallel data, which is 8-bit. We have some handshake signals that we talked about them in the previous video, so that the FPGA can understand when to send data to FT2232H or when to receive data. Also, in this synchronous mode, the IC provides the clock because the FT2232H and FPGA need to be synchronized. This is our physical link, and once this physical link is provided, we can have the communication to FPGA. Once this chain is set up correctly, now we can have the communication between PC and FPGA, and it can be done for this case in USB2 high speed with max of 480 megabit per second. And in our FPGA, we can do many different things. For instance, we can, as I showed in the beginning of the video, we can use it to capture data and send the data, make an oscilloscope, or we can process any data in FPGA and then send it, or any type of applications. Before talking about the FT2232H APIs, I just want to mention, as always, I'm going to upload this C++ code into channel's GitHub, so you can go and download the code. You can reproduce this oscilloscope yourself and enjoy this fast communication link that we made. So now let's talk about briefly about some of the APIs of FT2232H. So in order to create a successful implementation of our USB2 communication, we need to do the following. We need to, in our C++ application, we need to first open the connection to our FTDI IC. This is usually done with this function ft_openex, which basically by a serial number can connect to our IC and then give us a handler that we can use to configure the IC and read or write from it. So basically, once the connection is open, we need to do some configurations. I talk about the configuration in this next slide, but for instance, we need to go to the Sync-FIFO mode, set some of the parameters, the data size, and then we can also read the status of the IC and also read the data. And once all of this is done and we want to close the application, we need to close the connection. Okay, now in order to configure the IC, first we need to use FD set bit mode. Here we use FD set bit mode. We use the handler that we use to open the device. Here by using 0xFF, we say apply this set bit mode to all the pins, to all 8 pins, and then we use 0x40, which is the code to configure the FTDI to 245 Sync-FIFO mode for FTDI, which is the parallel FIFO. So by doing this command, we just switch from serial UART to Sync-FIFO mode. Then we can set the latency, the amount of the time that, for instance, FT2232H waits before sending the data back to the PC. We set it to 1 because we wanted the data to be sent as fast as possible. We didn't want FTDI to wait. So we set it to 1 to increase the speed of the communication. Then we have the FT_set timeouts, and we set it to 0 and 0. This, what it does is that it makes the read and write non-blocking, meaning that if we ask to read the data and there is no data available, the driver doesn't wait for any data to get available and then read that. So if it does that, it just blocks the application while it's waiting for reading the data. The same happens for transmitting. If the driver sees that the TX cannot be done at the current time because, for instance, the buffer is full, it doesn't wait for the buffer to get empty to transmit the data. It just cancels the transmission, so it doesn't block our application. Then we can set the USB parameters, the driver, TX and RX buffer. Here it's set to 64 kilobyte. We have the flow control. We set all the software flow controls to none, so there aren't any unnecessary overheads to our communication. And we have purge, which basically clears our buffers to make sure that there aren't any remnant data from previous runs before we start a new run. Okay, now that we have configured our IC, we can start reading and writing, but we need to be smart about it. We need to make sure, for instance, if we want to read, there is data available in the buffer to be read. Otherwise, we don't want to halt our application and wait for data to get available and then read it. We can do that by just saying ft_get queue status. We give the handler, and then queue is the status that the IC gets back to us. Basically, if we have data available, which is if queue, we go and read data. Otherwise, we just say, okay, we don't have any data, so we don't go ahead and read. We also, based on the buffer we have in our C++ application or the amount of read that we want to do, if the buffer has more data that, for instance, we can handle in our buffer, we just set a minimum between the amount of data that is available and the amount we can handle. And once that is found, we just go ahead with the API of FD_read and then read data. Here we have a function called parse frames. This is used because we are sending and receiving data in frames. And I have made this function so that once we read back the data, we can parse each frame. We can find the beginning of the frame and then the end of the frame so that the data is processed in synchronous fashion. Finally, we use that same getAStatus function. Here it just it doesn't have queue in it. It just has getAStatus that can give us RX, TX queue information. And basically by doing that, if we want to send data, we first poll. We make sure that the amount of TX data in the buffer that is waiting to be sent is less than the amount of this write backlog variable, and then we send data. This is because we don't want to make the buffer overcrowded. We don't want to overflow the TX buffer. We need to make sure that the TX buffer has enough space in the driver before we start a new write. Otherwise, if the buffer is full and there are many bits that are queued to be sent, what we do is that with this write, we just block our application, meaning that we wait for the buffer to get empty and then we send the new data. And during this time, the application is halted, and we want to prevent that. Basically, by checking this, we make sure that there aren't lots of data already queued in the TX buffer to be sent before we write a new data. And this is all it takes to communicate to FT2232H. We in the previous video we talked about the link between FPGA and the IC, and now here we learned how to configure the IC into sync mode, Sync-FIFO mode. Then we learn how to open and also read and write to the IC, and that's all it takes to create this fast USB2 communication. So there you have it. Here I just wanted to show another waveform. Basically here, instead of connecting the low pass filter to the square wave that is from FPGA, I'm just directly, I remove the low pass filter. I'm just directly reading the square wave that is the output of FPGA. So we don't have unsettling behavior, and you can see the signal looks much sharper here. This oscilloscope, I will try to use this link and this oscilloscope application to actually create much faster oscilloscopes in the next videos. I will also try to use this link to create different things. Two things that are coming in the upcoming videos are one, neural network processing that is done in the FPGA, and we use this communication to create the neural network. So first in the PC, we have the query, we send it to the FPGA, FPGA process it and send back the information, which can be said works as like an NPU. Also, I plan to create a software-defined radio using this application and this link in the future video. Please stay tuned in, and thanks for watching. Please share this project to anyone that you think might be interested. It would give us more exposure. Please share this video, comment, like and subscribe. Hopefully with using this link we can create an open source much more great